Hello, everybody. Let me turn down the music as per usual. I forget about that. Let's see if I can go live on Instagram as well. Whatever. It's fine. All right. Hello, everybody. Let's get into it. Black Game Pro Sessions is back. It's Monday. Sorry, I've had the day off today, so it's I need to get back into the swing. For those joining first time, Black Game Pro Sessions, a platform we highlight and connect some of the most interesting voices across gaming, tech, media, and culture. Real conversations, real journey, and hopefully something you can take with you in your into your own path. Today's guest sits right at the intersection of where a lot of our industry is heading. Eugene Rivers II is the Vice President of Events and Sponsorships at IGN Entertainment, where he has been building partnerships that cut across live streams, editorial, social, and live experiences. His career goes back to the early days of digital media at CNN, and over time, he's carved out a path that didn't really exist before, one that blends content, community, and commercial strategy into something that actually drives revenue and impact. He's worked with brands like Samsung, AMD, Xbox, Razer, HyperX, and played a key role in shaping initiatives like IGN Live. But what stands out to me is how he's navigated change. When the industry shifted, especially back in 2020, COVID times, he didn't sit still. He adapted. He rethought the model, and he helped turn digital into a core strength instead of a fallback, which I think was, as an event guy, that was super important to do. On top of that, he's been very intentional about building teams that reflect the world we live in and creating spaces for others to grow alongside of him. So today, we're going to talk about building a career over time, adapting to industry shifts, and what it really takes to operate at the intersection of events, media, and partnerships, especially today. So Eugene, welcome to Black Game Pro Sessions. Hello.
Hello, how's it going, Leon?
I can't complain. I have a week off, which is great. Well, let me turn the music a little bit down. It's a little bit too loud. I have the week off, so I'm super chill. It's a great early, start of the week. Early start of the week? Great start of the week of my free week. Yeah. How about yourself, good sir?
You know what? It is a sunny, great day here in LA. And as you mentioned before, thank you for that fantastic introduction. I don't think I could have written or done that myself, so I appreciate you for that. But things are going great here, and I'm kind of heading straight into this busy gaming season that we know that we're about to have in the next, let's say, 6 weeks or so.
Oh yeah, the crunch must be intense. For the people that don't know, so you're responsible, or your team is responsible for IGN Live, the event that takes place early June 7th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, June 6th and 7th.
At the Magic Box, June 6th and 7th, at the Magic Box in downtown LA. So it must be crunch time. Or is it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's third year, right? Fourth year.
It's the third year. So I would say, in terms of this is the first year that I've led a team that is focused solely on this event. We've always run very much self-support, but this is kind of the year where we've worked on various parts of the contract, different partnerships, and of course, different monetization that comes along with it. So it's definitely a multifaceted approach to how we do events. And so, traditionally, I have not been the one that's I would never call myself an event producer. I leave that to far more creative people to do. However, working with all the various logistics, as you know, on putting together something like this is kind of something that sits right at the intersection of almost a variety of different types of roles that I've had, whether here at IGN or in a previous life. So therefore, after a 15, 20-year career, now I'm able to do all of the various things at once and work with people to help bring it to life.
Yeah, man, because Vice President of Events and Sponsorship, it's a title I haven't yet reached. It's impressive, dude. Really, it's impressive.
Thank you. I would say, you know what? It really started with something that when we talk about, I would even say talk about events, I would even just say understanding how to work with different companies and drive revenue. I've also worked with a variety of sales teams. That is where their role is to excel and go sell. But I think especially in this industry, when you're gaming and you're in pop culture and you're in entertainment, no matter what generation that you're in, all brands and all companies are always trying to figure out how to speak to us, right? How to speak to us,
Mhm.
or some might not do it as well. They just want to know how to reach us. And so that's kind of one of the things that like I've been able to sit in the middle of. It's like, okay, where are we? Like, what is the culture? What do we like to do? Like most people here like entertainment and games. So as we talk about that, I'll dive into that a little bit as well.
Before we go into current Eugene, let's take us back to like earlier days, because you don't, like you already said, vice president is something that you don't really reach in a day. How did you get started in all of this? Where was your early beginning? And during your time in college, where you bought an Xbox to play Splinter Cell, plug,
Yeah.
before going live, did you already know you wanted to get into like the gaming industry, or it just happened?
Not at all. Like, let's just say when I graduated college, digital, as I pick up my iPhone, uh, that was nowhere. It hadn't existed yet, right? It came out like right afterwards. So I worked a bit in TV behind the scenes, but then also I would say my first job out, or my second job out of college, was at CNN.com. And so I still worked on
It's
sponsorships and
impressive.
partnerships at that time. And so I was based in Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta. I'm Southern, if you don't hear it. Born and raised in Alabama. So at that point, I really started in the early days of digital, to where before we could reach in our pocket and like look at any type of video content,
Yes,
reach
the good
our
old days.
friends, like everything. And so throughout my career, I was learning all of that on the job. And I will say, fortunate enough for me, when you work at a company like CNN, at least then, they were always experimenting in all the spaces. So
Mhm.
whether it is the new technology to build a website, or the first ones to get on Instagram and social platforms when they were in their infancy, before they turned into creator marketplaces and ways to where you can reach across the world and speak to anyone. Um,
Mhm.
that was kind of where it all started. And so with that point, I would say, like, as you're building your career and you're meeting people throughout your space, one of my bosses came to me at CNN, and she gave me a choice. She called me to her office and she said, "Do you want to focus on sponsorships, or do you want to focus on partnerships?" I had done sponsorships for a few years already. I was like, you know what? Let's try this partnership thing. And so
Mhm.
I was able to work on
If
partnerships for
if
.com.
if I if I may, what's the difference? I
Yeah.
mean, for some people, they like sponsorships, partnerships,
Yeah.
same.
So sponsorships, let's just think about it this way: all dollars and cents, right? You go to any sporting event and you see any other sponsors that are on the game. Client A pays a certain fee to be around this specific content. So, in the case that I'm working today, let's think about IGN Live in the gaming space. Earlier in our
Mhm.
conversation, we talked about E3, which, if anyone was around for that, that was the media moment of like a generation. And so, with that, clients, they want to advertise around certain spaces. We all know the Super Bowl. We know what the commercials mean for the Super Bowl. That's a
Mhm.
sponsorship. Then a partnership really can be any extension of that and anything that it needs to be. Um, we could work together in partners between IGN and Ubisoft in a variety of different ways. So I would kind of sum up a partnership as a very long-ended conversation that has monetary value. It cannot have monetary value, and it really allows you to create the roadmap as you're driving the car. So you're not
Mhm.
following the GPS. There's nothing there to guide you, but like you're making it up as you go along. And whatever your goals are and my goals, we work together to make it happen.
I know I might go a little bit too much inside baseball here, but KPI wise, how do you, because for sponsorships, okay, you get revenue, you get X
Mhm.
amount, that's your target. For
Yeah.
partnerships, how do you measure the success there? Because that can be gray area, which
Yeah.
I love. I love working in gray area.
No, in a very media specific world, let's say it's our goal to build a new relationship and drive new users, reach a new audience, so to speak. Or is it to, let's say, use a certain expertise to kind of like educate ourselves, right? So
Mhm.
you will go seek out different partners who are experts in a certain area, more so from an education perspective. Is it building new products? It can be building new products, it can be growing an audience, and then also it could eventually get down to like a revenue potential down the line. I think when you're in this digital, especially this digital world that we're in, there are a lot of experts who either create content, build products, tell stories, and now with the creator marketplace, like there's so much talent and how to reach out and build partnerships there to where everyone has their own story to tell. And I would sum that up to just say the KPIs can kind of be anything that we define it to be, but it's all based on partner A and partner B.
Fair enough. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm always curious about that because gray areas. Even though I kind of also work in gray areas sometimes, especially with marketing things. It's having clear KPIs is key. So having clear targets in mind also for you and your team is super important. Once again, it's a little bit inside baseball, but for people that might be like, "What the fuck is he talking about?" I just want to ask. So you were at CNN. You were given the opportunity to kind of like explore the emergence of the digital realm, digital platforms, and all these kind of things. What made you leave there, and how did you end up at IGN?
I was in the Turner Broadcasting ecosystem at that point, which owned CNN for maybe 4 or 5 years. And there comes a point, like in most of us, where we want to make a change, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're not sure what that change is. And for me, it was the news cycle. It was all based on the news cycle. I had just come off of an amazing President Barack Obama's first election. So being in the news cycle at that point in time, being like a black man in that space, it was probably one of the greatest professional memories I ever have because I was in that space. But then, of course, after that point, I was like, you know what, I want to do something a little bit different. And to be honest, I applied to a job online, which is unheard for, and this role. And the role said very specifically, you should come manage this monetization partnership with GameStop and IGN. And do you know video games? Oh yeah, I've played some video games, as I talked about buying an Xbox and Nintendo and all those things. And I just happened to have this experience that literally went straight down the line. It was like, can you understand the sales and digital media sales world? Check, because that was what my first role was. Do you at least understand like how to be a little bit ambiguous with like relationships and build the relationships and create KPIs that you need to manage and build toward? And my previous boss at the time, he said, once I saw your resume, I had to talk to you because I couldn't find anyone that had that exact mix in these roles. And we got on the phone and we talked and we clicked instantly. And then that completely changed my life from that moment on. And next thing you know, I'm in San Francisco and I am, like what I thought was a side quest was like a whole nother chapter.
Mm-hmm. That's so dope. And I mean, how did you prepare for an interview like that? Because it was like a completely new industry for you. Well, did you prepare, or did you freestyle it?
Oh no! You don't freestyle something like that. You know what? I researched every single person that I found here. LinkedIn was a platform at that point. All I did was I found them, and then I think the next thing was like I made sure that I had very specific stories tailored from my work experience to them. So for example, if I met with legal, I talked about working with different clients and drafting deal terms, and also not just drafting deal terms, but being able to implement them with everyone else on the other side. If I worked with the sales and SVP, you know what, I'll sit and talk about revenue, and I will talk about potential pipeline. I will do the whole thing. So it's really just a lot of research and planning, but you know what? It wasn't too difficult because you get to speak about yourself, right? Not only do you get to speak about yourself, but you get to verbalize like your own experience and like you kind of throw in a little bit of what you like to learn in the process. And about 3 interviews later, I was in San Francisco, and then here we are today.
It's funny how these things can go, right? I mean, something that was completely unplanned. You see an opening on the job website, you apply, you do a few interviews, and it changes the course of your life. Interesting how these things can go. I mean, I had a similar kind of thing. My goal was never to work in video games. It just happened. I saw an opening on a job website and I applied. And 20 years later, here I am, still not fired. Still waiting for that email. It never happens. Maybe after today.
Don't we all? And I even say for those who are like newer in their career, like, I mean, there is still an extension of that that can be applied today. Like, I will say for anyone that is working remotely or hybrid, there was a time where when you would go into everyone was in the office 5 days a week all the time. And there was a line between your roles and responsibilities and like senior leadership. Those lines now are kind of like eroded away a little bit, in my opinion, just because now you can reach everyone, whether it's via a Slack or an email or anything like that. So as you're building your own experience, don't be afraid to like reach out, have a conversation, ask a question, just because I think people are kind of craving that experience. They're craving that hunger to the newer in career. They want to learn more, but they're also people who have been working who are 100% open to having the conversations and helping you along your way. But you just have to ask them a question. You just have to like talk and have that conversation.
But it can be scary. I mean, especially nowadays and I mean, I don't want to talk down on people in general or the younger generation, but it seems like having this interpersonal or having like personal contact, asking people things is challenging. Can be scary. Can be, you're the vice president of events and sponsorship. So for people to reach out to you could be like, what do I have to offer him? I mean, sorry, go ahead.
It's not even I think of it as a way of just being open. I am very open in my approach. And sometimes I've kind of learned that is probably putting me in great spaces, and sometimes it's probably putting me in not so great spaces. But also, like, I always see it as it's okay to not know, because as you're building your career, guess what? I didn't know half of the stuff that I've learned over my career. I just knew I liked video games, I understood digital media, and that I was able to talk about 4 or 5 things well enough for you can think, okay, he can ask good questions. We'll move further with this candidate or with this conversation. And the next thing you know, like, you amass all of this experience, but it's not going to come overnight.
True. Was there a moment? So you had these interviews, you got a job offer. Did you ever have any doubt, or did you were like, I have to do this? This is go time.
Did I have any doubt in terms of like, would I accept it, or any doubt if what I was
accepting it, but also being able to do this job that they asked you to do?
Accepting it, no. I was like ready to go immediately. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity, because I think most people who work in the gaming industry or who has kind of started at various points, like at some point they're excited about it, right? Because unless you were, at least in the US then, unless you were in places like California, you did not have that exposure to the industry, because the industry used to be very much so like under lock and key, right? So now the exposure is so much more. But that was my initial response was, no, I'm like all the way in, let's go do it. Now, when I got here, that was a whole different like conversation in terms of people asking me terms I don't know, people assuming I just know intercompany lingo. And I'm like, you might have been here a few years. No, I don't know that. But it was one of those things. Sometimes you do live it where you have to fake it until you make it, but also like work, ask the questions, like do your own research, like come with your own thoughts, and critical thinking will take you a long way.
That is very true. That is very true. But I mean, sometimes it's difficult for some people to self-reflect because they want results now. And it takes some time, because you've been at IGN now for 15 years, and you've worked your way up there to where you are now. I mean, it takes time. It doesn't go overnight, like you said. It doesn't happen overnight. So, do you remember your first day when you first moved to San Fran? Started in first day.
Yep.
what was when you came back home that day? What was the what did you feel? What did you think?
The first thought was going from a very CNN buttoned up culture to going to a gaming industry where the walls are brick like this. There's video game characters all on the wall. Like it's just like it's an otherworldly. It's the show that's on Netflix that's based off of Ubisoft. Like that's a very good example of it. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Mythic Quest.
Mythic Quest. Yes, it's Mythic Quest. Just like that. But once I got home, I realized I was like, I'm way too overdressed. That was the first thing. That was the first thing that popped into my head. I was like, oh my God, I'm way too overdressed. I do not need to wear all of these clothes. But once I got through with that, I was like, this is an opportunity like of a lifetime almost. It's still a job like most of them will be. There will be times where you will have long stints at our jobs and short stints. But the time doesn't really matter. It's what you do with it when you have it. And I didn't think I would be here the amount of time because in my first stint, I wasn't. I was only here for like a year and a half. But in that year and a half, I tried to learn as much as possible. And it was a very, very internal facing role. So I knew people in the company, but it took me a few years to build relationships outside of IGN to where I was able to learn more, not just about IGN in the industry and what my role is, but what is this industry overall and what is my role within this industry as I meet people like yourself and others that are in the room. And that's something that that just takes a lot of time and work and that's a lot of internal reflection.
I mean, I remember when I first started in the industry, I mean, I had imposter syndrome probably for the first 5 years of working in the industry because you're surrounded by all these brilliant people, amazingly creative people, or like people that from like watching the gaming industry and watching specific characters, and then you're there with them and they're talking about things and you have no idea what they're talking about, or it took me a while to really to feel comfortable in the position that I had, and also be comfortable in the sense that okay, I think I actually contribute, I have a value here. My specific vertical, the thing that I bring to the table is something that is of value for Ubisoft. How long did it take for you to have that moment? Was there like a big success moment in the early years where you're like, oh yeah, now it's fine, it clicked? Or did it click?
You know what? Oh man. So the first role I had was very specific, and so it only lasted 18 months. So I would say it clicked for me in the way that you said 2 weeks ago, which is crazy to say because like it's been brought full circle, and that's the only reason I say it only clicked 2 weeks ago, because I've been creating opportunities built off of my experience over time. But like the initial time of like when I had this experience, like, oh, I understand what I'm doing, I would probably say it was. I said when God of War launched, I think we talked about this earlier. It was when God of War was announced from PlayStation and they had the orchestra at E3. And I understood from the perspective of like, what was the moment for Sony as like a partner. I understood what was that moment that IGN could use with it. But I also understood what it felt like as a fan to kind of like be on the other side of that. So thinking about it from like a very professional lens, but also a very consumer lens, I was like, I understand like the full through line. Yes, we're working with a collection of companies who all have very specific roles, but at the end of the day, as you're building your career, you're like, well, how does this start and how did this end? You don't need to know all of the various places. Games are created for people like us to play them and consume them. 100%. At that moment in time, it clicked to me because I was able to see the through line in all of my experiences. And that took me about maybe 3 years into it.
So what was the through line that you discovered? What was the thing? What did you bring to the table? What's your value?
My value that I brought to the table there was I'm in rooms with people as I'm working with different brands who don't know gaming the way that I do. They haven't experienced it. To them, gaming is like sports. Sports, I want to advertise in sports. I want to be partners in sports. What does that mean? Okay, well, for me, for gaming, it was a matter of, let's just use an example, working with a brand like I'll just say Best Buy, right? Best Buy is this big box brand. Working with people who are newer to working with gaming entities, they understand it. They know people play games. They know they sell games. But what is the culture in the community like? Like, how do I reach this community? Like, what does this community talk about online? Like, do they follow certain social accounts? Like, what is the lingo that's there? And that was like what I brought to the table. It's like using all of my own personal experience and my professional experience, being able to take that into a room to say, this is why I'm here to have this conversation. And whether it's something that is, leads to a deal or not, I leave that room feeling this person learned something because they came to this meeting or we had this dinner, and I learned something from them as well.
Yeah, but that's probably also why you're super good at your job. At your job, you as someone who's managing sponsorships or partnerships and events, you need to be able to have this like human conversation with someone where you create value for the other person, and it's value for your company, but it's also value for the other person. You lead with adding value instead of taking from people, which I think it's super important. And a lot of people that are related to sales and that specific part, they just take. I think that's but it's also good that you see your own value, because some people never see their value and they just keep on doing the routine, going through the motions, and then never really realize the strength or their value, the strength that they have and the value that they bring to the company that they work for.
And I think even to add to that is like, you can see your value, but also understand that you're still a work in progress and that you're going to make mistakes and you don't have all the answers. I think one of the things that like I feel very good about is knowing who to reach out to, or just I not only understand myself, I understand the roles that other people play. And I think earlier we were talking about being self-aware. And while I'm very self-aware about who I am also aware of like strengths and weaknesses of other people, not just the people that are on my team, but also people that I work with on a day-to-day. And sometimes, whether you're working internally with your own company or with another one, you are negotiating within your own space. So you're using the resources you have at your disposal to reach whatever goal that it is that you set in front of you. So I think it takes a good amount of time to understand who are you working with, who are you working for, and how do you all manage these relationships and conversations to get to the end goal. Because you're not doing it all by yourself. And that's the part that's probably the most challenging out of anything else.
Amen to that. It reminds me of, so I had a session with Gordon Bellamy, you probably know him, like a months or so ago, also for Black Game Pros, where he mentioned indeed that life is a multiplayer game. Your career is a multiplayer game. You can get only so far if you play alone, single player, but if you know how to work with a team, if you know what the rules of engagement are with the people that you work with your bubble, then you can go so much further. Which I think was a very wide learning from him. And you seem to echo that as well.
Yeah, it's one of the, and even just like this timing is it's a little odd. One of my early mentors in my career, one of the very first ones that I had, he helped pretty much get internships. He wrote a recommendation for me that I still wish I could read it. But he literally just messaged me as we're on this call. I doubt he's in this room here, but he just messaged me. We talk like we talk every so often, but it's like I mentioned before, it's like focus on the experience that you want to have and how you meet different people. When we're meeting individuals and you're building relationships, a relationship can be built with one conversation, one email, and it's all based on like how you are authentic in who you are and how you present yourself. But that relationship is what brought us here today. And that's something to where, for most people who don't know, like Leon and I haven't worked together for 20 years, but we've met over a few meetings a couple of years ago, and we've kept in contact. And this is kind of like where we brought it to today. So that's just an example of like building relationships, no matter where you think they can get you. You don't have to have any end result from them. Just Be your genuine self. And when the time comes, it'll pop up again at some point.
Oh yeah, 100%. Sometimes, what is it? The non-transactional networking. It's that, you don't expect, you network because you're genuinely interested in that person. We have, indeed, like us, for example, we had a business conversation a few years ago. We stayed in touch. We were connected. And then actually what brought me back, I have you on LinkedIn, so I see your posts and I see what you talk about. But what brought me back to you was when I saw the community guys from CX community post about you, and they're like, oh yeah, of course, Eugene. I wanted to have him as one of our guests as well. And then, because we're already connected, it was like easy. Like, hey, Eugene, how have you been? You want to pull up? And now we are here.
Yep, exactly. And that's pretty much all it takes sometimes. And I'm gonna be completely, we haven't even talked about this. You're based in Amsterdam, you work in Paris. We've talked about it. I've been in California for most of my career. It's not very often that I sign on a meeting with someone across the world and there's another black face. It happens. There's nothing wrong with it. It definitely happens. But if it's a black man, it stands out even much more so. And sometimes, hey, that's the connection there that starts, which is kind of where we're here now. So it definitely doesn't hurt to reach out.
And I appreciate you being here and taking the time, because I know, especially leading up to, IGN Live next month, it must be crazy busy for you. I wanted to go into the whole world of events, like kind of like my passion, my day-to-day job. Back in the days prior to 2020, for years the industry was spending insane amounts on events like E3. Looking back now, how much do you think of that spend was actually effective versus just tradition and ego?
Oh man, I would say for the time when that was the main outreach to get to fans, like there had to be something there, right? Like we know that, like, I'm just using it as an example, like Ubisoft, EA, Microsoft, Bethesda, and all the various dozens of gaming companies that existed, it's going to be very hard to get them to kind of like play in the same yard because they're all competitors, right? At the same time. So I would say what initially was, it allowed you to make a very big splash, which had a certain cost to it at a certain time. As technology created over years, and as we're literally on it now, your message was splintered, right? You're able to reach 100%. Your own audiences. All companies are able to reach their own audiences through multiple different platforms, to where then I think a lot of the companies started to see, like, okay, there's this huge spend at this event. And how do we get more return on it? Because you're announcing products. It's not like they're for sale right now. You're announcing products that could be a year, could be 2 years, it may not come out. You never know. So
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't feel attacked at all.
No. It just that just happens in this industry. So I think, like, as I think about like E3 and what it was, I think the biggest thing is that it gave a moment for the industry to come together and create. And I do think that that's something, as we talk about in-person events, that is like still as important. But individual gaming companies are still going to have their own individual moments, because they want to reach the audience. They want to be authentic, and it only goes so much behind a screen, even though we're playing games behind screens, you still want to get people to engage with these creative IP and these characters and these fantastic worlds that you want people to go spend hours and hours in. And that's where kind of like the promotion, when I think of like budgeting and like creating events, I'm like, how do I want to create something that people enjoy, regardless of if it's IP driven or promotional driven?
Yeah, but I mean, that's actually you hit the nail on the head there, because I mean, COVID changed everything. I mean, we were probably, if COVID didn't happen, E3 might have still been around. I mean, maybe not, because I think the tides were already changing. But COVID forced a lot of companies, brands, platforms to rethink their events, or how they show up. But it seems like a lot of companies didn't really survive that shift from physical events to the digital realm. From where you sit, who of these companies, brands actually got it right, and who got exposed? And you don't per se have to name, but you can give examples of things that you've seen where you're like, okay, that works. That's something that you learn from.
I think I use South by Southwest as an example
South by is
from
great.
Time, because it's a regional event, right? Like honestly, it's a very regional event in Austin, but it still has this like global cachet, and had this global cachet of people wanting to attend. And they created a level of exclusivity to where everything wasn't like live stream, but they still created content that was like for people in attendance. So I think they kind of weathered the storm a little bit through COVID, where some like definitely like couldn't really come back from it. But I think it's because they had a big local following and a big following of like what was happening at the event itself, to where, yes, if we're not going to go to events because of COVID, I understand why I wouldn't go, but I think it still carried like, well, when it's back, I know what to expect when I go, i.e. great music. I can still get a lot of like tech information. You can still get the crux of what the event is. And while I think it definitely worked in that way, just because of people crave these experiences. On the other side, it's weird. I'm trying to think of an event company that like I think they all struggled. I think San Diego Comic-Con really had a struggle for like a couple of years. But that's just mainly because that event is so heavily focused on like what is being presented by studios and comic companies at that time. So if the slate is a little light, the event might already struggle during that time.
True. And I think, some events are just better in person. That's the thing. You cannot digitize. We tried. I remember, at COVID times, we were even exploring, like, should we gamify the online experience, create like a digital universe realm where people can engage? But, then you go beyond the point of why these events are so important. In-person events are so important, especially within our industry. My philosophy has always been that, we create digital entertainment, digital storytelling, and we're pretty good at doing that. There is a human need to have these interperson moments where you have a shared experience, where you can geek out together with your fellow nerds and be like, oh my God, did you see the new trailer? Oh my God, did you try out this new thing? It's that. And that just doesn't replicate. I haven't seen anyone, and I've watched all of them. I haven't seen anyone able to really replicate that feeling, that excitement that you feel in the room online. No, it just that didn't happen.
Not in our space. And I think I remember watching E3s from various locations, and it's like you use something like a concert, like a Coachella as an example, right? To where somehow there's people who go and attend these shows and are able to have like the greatest experience. But also, like, I actually watched it. We called it Couchcella because we were watching it at home. And it felt like a great experience because I was still able to capture and see what it's like to be there, even though I was at home. And I just don't know. The gaming industry is a little bit different because it's heavily dependent on the fandoms, like geeking out against these individual moments. And I think there's just like, gaming isn't one experience, right? Like, you have certain communities who love JRPGs, and you have like communities who like, I only play Madden, and you have some that are like, one of my friend's daughters, she literally has played every single Assassin's Creed, like, known to man, cover to cover, hours for hours. Like,
she's appreciated. It's appreciated.
Yeah, there's just like these communities of people to where they don't always overlap, and it's hard to get them all into the same room. So that's already itself is going to be challenging. Just because the nature of like events are very specific target audiences.
So what do you make, in your opinion, what makes a great gaming event? What are the ingredients? You're building it with IGN Live,
I would say a great gaming event in this case is creating moments where people are feeling joy, right? Like they're able to experience this emotion of something that they have like a fandom of, whether that is one to one, something that I enjoy, or something that I want to bring my friend Leon to because I know he's going to enjoy it. Or, we're bringing a family to it as well. I think number one, like connecting to that community that way and making it a very good event just for that. That's number one. Also, I think I have a mentality of like I've been to so many of these to where I think it's normal because I go for professional reasons. But for those who don't, giving them a moment to truly have fun, giving them something that's hands-on, allow people to play games. People just want to play games and be in the space. So if it's something that's playable, I might have played it for 20 hours. They might not have. Give them that experience and allow them to enjoy it.
It's interesting how you said that, because what you said earlier, like I do the same thing whenever I build events. I build an event where conceive an event. Is this an event that I would enjoy going to myself? If I would have to pay money to go watch Ubisoft Forward or go to an E3 Ubisoft experience or go to Gamescom for Ubisoft, would I pay money for that? And if I would have paid that money for that, would I go back home and be like, oh yeah, shit, it was dope? And that's that's how I kind of like measure, like if I think it would be cool, then maybe it resonates with multiple people. But it's like, it's so important to indeed build, in my opinion, to build an event and activation based on your audience instead of based on the brand or the platform. Or something. No, who's your audience? Who's going there? Right. Who's waiting in line for 3 to 5 hours to play or to watch or to engage with something, instead of what do our execs want? Even though that's it's also important because you guys are the ones that are approving the budget, but still.
I mean, even the examples that I named that we've talked about, most of them are either industry events or very extremely high ticketed events, right? Very expensive to attend. Yep. And so that's already a barrier of entry there, right? Like,
true that.
But when you're creating other events that like reach communities and fans, like I love seeing real people. And an example of like, I had a client that she brought her son to IGN Live, I think last year or the first year, she had twin daughters, I remember. And they had never been to something like this because they just haven't, right? And she had never really been to a gaming event. And they sat down and they came over and they talked to me, and there were two like beautiful like Black children and their mom, and they came over and we talked. And I told the seller, I was like, you know what? I was like, hey, can you just leave them with me? I want to take them around. And I just talked to them about what they enjoyed and their experience. And to me, it's like, okay, it's a gaming experience. It's, I've been in this space a while, but seeing those moments and seeing those people, and it's like pulling people from behind a screen to in person is very hard to do. But I think it gives us a moment, especially in the current climate of like pause, and you see people. And I think we can, I can pull someone off of a chat and we can talk about a game. And guess what? Now we can become friends because we now have this like connection over this shared experience. And that's kind of like what I think about when it comes to like gaming experiences and what I hope to create.
Gaming is it's a unifying thing. I remember my first event that I did for Ubisoft was the launch for Red Steel. So the Nintendo Wii game back in the early days of Nintendo, the samurai game. And I hosted a party at this swanky nightclub in Amsterdam where I invited my old network, my hip hop friends and artists and these kind of things, and the gamers. I remember my manager at the time was like, what did you do, Leon? Well, that's a weird combination. But gaming was the unifier that brought them all, was the glue that brought them all together. The tough looking guys in their hip hop costumes and the nerds were talking about playing acting like a samurai in the game. It was the unifying thing, and I think that's one of the core strengths of gaming. That is, people think gamers are this, it's a monolith. It's not. Everybody games. It's like it's and I've been, and you as well, I've been to gaming events all over the world. And in the end, it's like, they're all like similar kind of people, but from all walks of life, which I think is wonderful. And that's why I love this industry so much.
Yeah. I mean, you can probably even have conversations with people and battle about their favorite games within franchises. That is a conversation that can go on for ages. I have nerd friends who lose their mind over a variety of Final Fantasies.
Oh yeah, I know these kind of people. It's interesting. I'm a fan, but not such a fan that I can go into like month-long discussion and debates over specific things in one specific game, which I think is super intriguing. But no, miss me with that. Like I said, you've been at IGN for 15 years, so that's quite a long tenure, which is, I think, extremely rare. I don't know many people out there, especially Black folks, that have been in the industry with the same employer for such a long time. Be honest, because I'm also asking myself the same question. When does staying become stagnating, and how do you avoid that? How do you keep this interesting for yourself?
You know, I went through multiple phases of thinking about this exact question. And one of the things that I've always tried to do is I've always tried to learn something new. And so as digital media has changed, so let's say at one point in time when Instagram became a platform for publishers, and publishers like IGN and even Ubisoft and all the gaming companies start creating their own content to reach that audience. That was new at one point in time. When that was new, I was like, okay, how does this filter into our overall strategy of how do we drive revenue from it? That was really much what my initial focus was. And so how to kind of go through that every couple of years as the industry changed, I leaned into what that change was. So while understanding the sponsorships, then I started to talk about social platforms, and then live streaming became a thing on the social platform. So it's when people talk about the business implications of it, it's okay, where's our views coming from? Where are our page views coming from? Being able to have that conversation, not just with the metrics and the business intelligence teams, but to be able to have that with a sales team and a client is very beneficial. You have to learn, most people like us have to learn how to speak multiple languages. And so when you learn those languages, you use them to the best of your ability. But I would say in order to keep from stagnation, it was learning these different things. But it really didn't, the career shift for me or the growth really came when someone else started to ask me about not necessarily what I did, but what my thoughts were. Because you have those meetings over periods of time when you've been in place for a while, people, whether they're new to being your boss or whether they're new to the company, they will ask you, what do you do? And that question that can take you down a variety of paths. And one of my paths was, this is what I do, this is what I'm responsible for, but here's what my thoughts on it and what I think we need to do further. So you kind of always have to think a little bit ahead. And it got to the point to where my opinion became valued. And so with that value is something that I was like, okay, this is worth it to me, especially within this industry and within my role. You can always you can try your best to go find another role, but a lot of times people are going to pay you for your knowledge, your specialty, your expertise, as you advance in your career. And that is just as important as what your day-to-day tasks are, because you need to be able to be active and make decisions, because you will meet a lot of people who will when you work in larger companies, it can take a while to make certain decisions. And sometimes you have to say,
tell me about it.
Yeah, you have to say, this is the information that I have, and support your information with facts and all of that stuff, and say, this is what I think and this is why. It might be wrong. It's okay. It might be wrong.
Mm-hmm. I mean, besides the fact that you've worked hard for it and you through that you earned the authority or the respect to make these decisions, don't downplay the fact that's the fact that such a huge company like IGN is listening to your opinion and your approach of how to IGN life. How can we turn this into a succession? That's, take my hat off for that. That's respect. That's, yes, you worked hard for it and it takes some time to get there, but you were there and you're doing it and you're doing a great job with it, which I think is impressive. And you also seem very calm and collected about everything.
Yeah, that's because I'm here in front of a camera. I'm very calm and collected, but it's also just, there's a lot of unforeseen pressure that that I place on myself. But there's also pressure from like external forces, and you can only do what you can do. And as long as I go to sleep every night, I'm like, I worked, I did what I could, I've learned, I've helped other people along the way. Because realistically, this is something that like can't be done solo. Like for every time I make a transition or I have growth, there's always multiple people that either I try to grow with me on my team or I try to support in other parts of the organization, because this is all about relationship building. Your entire career is always going to be about building relationships with other people, because
100%.
Phone call, a text message, an email can completely change your life.
Yeah. That's how I got the job to move to Paris and then do E3 back in the days. It was an email late at night. Like, hey, do you want to do this? I was like, do I want to move to Paris? Meh. Yeah. And then they mentioned E3. Like, oh shit, that's interesting.
Yeah. So you just had that whole life experience. It's like, yeah, you know what? Why not? I'll try it out. And here you are.
Exactly. You're like, they'll probably fire me within a year, maybe 2 years. I mean, at first year I signed a contract for like 2 years with like a expat kind of mission, and that was like 11, 12 years ago. It never stopped, which is cool. We're almost at time, but I did want to ask you a few more questions, because at one point in your career, you were told that being you might limit your growth. A lot of people hear that in our industry. I might have heard that in our industry. When is that actually true, and how do you measure when that is true, or when it's actually just bad advice?
It's true. Oh man, I wasn't expecting that one. I feel like it's true if it's coming from a place of like ego, right? Like if I was to hear that and I was to get immediately upset and say, well, I've done this, I've done that, and like my ego gets very big, right? I feel like there might be a little bit of truth to it, unless it was something that was very constructive and like feedback, right? And for example, like when I heard it, I was a bit younger in my career, but I had 4 or 5 work years of experience, so it definitely worked. And I was told that as I was trying to move up and get a promotion, but it wasn't by the person who I was trying to work for. It was by someone who was relatively someone I respected, and they gave me that information saying, I think you're great for this. I support you. I will do whatever I can to support you. But they gave me that insight to where that's what they knew. And I said, fair enough. And you know what? Here it is. I'll give a great example. I might have been a little bit too nerdy for a corporate space at that time because I was younger. And so I made a transition. So I think like you have to be able to receive it and process it. And you need to determine if it's something that's very personal against you, or sometimes I just don't fit into places, and that's okay too.
Yeah, exactly. I think, but it's important indeed that you take that feedback that you get and assess it real quick first and foremost when you receive it, and be like, okay, is this complete bullshit, or is there a point? If there's a point, look yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, where does this person make a point? Why do I feel the way that I feel about this? And is there something? Do I want to do something about it? Do I need to do something about this?
Yep.
Or do I just stay this asshole?
Like and that kind of like that got me to a point to where and then also like the notion of bring your whole self to work. I do believe in that mostly. But also just be able to read the room, be able to understand the spaces that you're in. So you can, sometimes you might have to, you just have to be able to read the room, any rooms that you're in. It doesn't matter if it's a room full of us, it's a room full of executives, it's a room full of coordinators, business partners, whatever it may be. Understand where you are and how to apply that accordingly. but you can still be your true self in all of those instances. It's just you just apply it very differently.
That's a very good point. Wow. Yeah, that's a very good point indeed. Huh. So for someone trying to break into this industry, partnerships, events, or media today, what's the uncomfortable truth that they need to hear that nobody's telling them?
People make this stuff up all the time as they go along. You may think it comes off as like expertise and guided knowledge and all of this. Sometimes you are sitting in a room with very capable people who know exactly what they're talking about, but you know what? They might not know where they need to go at that moment, and you have to create something from nothing. So guess what? You're creating something from nothing right now when you start your career. So and people don't tell you that when it comes to partnerships and events, like running an event is like running a small business. Building a relationship with another company and another person, comes with a whole set of like unspoken rules and regulations and just things that you just kind of have to adhere to. So I would say going into it, understanding that we're going to create something, figure out what your KPIs are, or make up some and change them along the way as you get people in the room. But most people will not tell you that they kind of make it up as they go along. And guess what? 5 people in a room making it up, going along, becomes a plan. And then that plan starts to go, and then everybody weighs in on their expertise and you move forward. But there's not a magic formula for it. It's not a secret sauce to it. It's just we're in the room working together and collaborating. And that's where the relationships comes in.
Yeah. I mean, it's just putting the room together is already a big point. I'm respectful of you. Do you have a little bit longer time, or is it all right, cool, because I wanted to get into IGN Live. How did that come together? What can we expect this year, and where is this going? I know it's a lot of questions and kind of like folded into one.
And this I'm saying this out loud. I've said this multiple times out loud. I think I can feel comfortable saying it here. It initially came together a few years ago, and I was in a mentorship program. And at that point, the mentor that I had was very, very senior leadership within IGN, our parent company. And we had a lot of questions. We talked about the business. He asked me my thoughts, expertise. And at this point, I was not promoted up. And the question was like, do you think we could do this? And I said, yes, but, and, or, et cetera, and gave all my insights. And then here we are 3 years later. So that's like literally how, like, in my opinion, how it started. Where it's going is IGN is creating its own moments. When you're a media company in this space and you work with companies like Ubisoft, they have their moments that IGN will amplify and create additional moments around. However, IGN Live is its own moment. It's its own time, its own creation. So when we're talking about your own career and creating your time and creating your space, this is just that specific space for IGN. Publishers, with gaming publishers that are working with us, entertainment studios, and where traditionally IGN has been known to be gaming first, this gaming and entertainment. It's a place where people can come and have these geeky conversations and it'd be like a fun space. That's where I think IGN Live is going. I think as we figure out things that we continue to like to do, and things that we may no longer want to do. I think the content and the fans are first, and then the experiences that we want to provide to them is second. So it's shaping up to be a pretty good year. I don't even know the full content slate because I was just told I can't talk about it. But I'm excited to see where we are for year 3 as it gets bigger.
So in the first 2 years that you guys hosted IGN Live, is there a fan interaction that you've had or that you've heard of that you still remember?
You know, there's so many. I would just say, like, I don't really I listen to people when I'm in the event space because I'm normally doing a lot of different things. And I think I saw one with a family. The guy, he had a he had a pushing a stroller through, and then his wife, and he was just happy to take a photo moment. He was like, you know what, this was my time to get out. I wanted to bring my kids because they were old enough to go, and I saw a family enjoying a moment, and all it was they saw some content on stage that looked cool. They went home with a prize. He played a few video games, and he didn't have to spend a bunch of money to do so. And for me, that was like a good experience to just see the full scope of a gamer who's been gaming for 15, 20 years, one that's building out their gaming life like in front of my eyes. And then someone else who is like, what is all of this going on? I can't believe people are doing this. So there's like 4 different experiences in one, but I watch people and then I just talk to them. And you know what? I think I just gave them a bunch of stuff I had at that point in time because it was just with me at that time. And it was just seeing people like enjoy themselves in the moment.
It feels great when you're able to do that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I have exactly these kind of interactions. And it's these small interactions that, that are not publicized, that are not, photographed, but it's these kind of like interhuman moments or these human moments where you have a connection with a person, and it can be on games, it can be something completely different, but it's the fact that you are then kind of the guy running the show and that you can then give them something on top of an already cool experience is something that they will never forget. And even though to us, as the guys hosting these events, it sounds like it's nothing. You have these products in your bag anyway. It's a moment of recognition for these fans, for the community members, because even though they might not know you,
right,
you represent IGN, and IGN recognized them. And it's that. And I think that's one of the reasons why these in-person events are so important, because you have the actual opportunity to look a person in the eye and have kind of like to see what makes them tick, but also have them see you for the human that you are, or see your brand or your company or your whatever for the people that represent that company.
Right. And we're all on the same journey. We're all moving forward, and as we create different events or different experiences, it's all about like, partially it's, did I enjoy this experience and what did I learn from it? And as long as it's not something that I'm doing by myself. I never could do this by myself. Like I am literally a person. I do everything with my team. So if the team I have like is in the mud that day, I'm going to go in the mud with them and we're going to build it brick by brick. But at the end of the day, once it's over and we see it all together and I get to see the people, it's an enjoyable experience. And if I'm able to make new relationships out of it, fantastic. Because I like to talk.
Yeah, but I think, the people that attend IGN Live or other events in the gaming atmosphere, they can feel it when the people that build or produce the event actually have passion and understanding for the community, for the people that they're building this event for. And I think that's something that translates very well with IGN Live. I've had, when we were still doing Forward in LA, we had some overlap. I think our event was during IGN Live or that kind of, and I remember that some of our attendees also went to you guys, and some community members that we invited for our showcase also went to you. And they came back being like, these were super cool. I saw such and such. I didn't even know who they were talking about, but oh my God, I have a picture with this person, and they took time for me and had a conversation. But that's mission accomplished for the event that you're building, because you're building proximity, you're building connection with IGN Live. So I think that's super important what you guys have built. So I have to give you the compliments and props for that, because especially intended during the COVID times, being able to build something like that, putting it down, going to a venue like Magic Box, which can be challenging to work with from an operational perspective, because it's a big building with different locations, there's other stuff going on in there as well, and I have to give you your props. That's and your team, of course, because indeed it's not a solo mission. You can't build this by yourself, but you spearheaded it together with your team. You made it happen, and you're going into year 3. So that respect for that.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. It's been quite a journey. I just realized, like, as you're working with events, the event might be 3 days to the audience, but it is literally a
It's a
year's
year.
worth of
Okay, dude, I
years
know.
worth of conversations. And honestly, I don't think in any part of my career until working on IGN Live had I had to think about this thing. I'm working towards this one thing a year away.
Mhm.
Normally,
It's
it's
insane.
in the digital world, it gets a little floaty.
Yep.
But when it comes to the events world, it's very hard dates, facts,
Oh yeah.
deadlines
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
that you have to adhere to.
Oh man. Do you also have like one on June 8th, or let's say June 9th, when everything is wrapped and then they'll pick back up and magic boxes pristine as per usual? Do you all? I mean, after all of my events, I always have like a week or two that I need to decompress, kind of like a post event depression almost, because indeed you build towards a moment for a year, then it's 3 days of excitement and craziness, and then you'll go back to your regular supermarket and do your regular stuff and go back to regular life, which can be daunting for me at least.
Yeah. For me, my plan is, well, I can't quite take a break because I go have to do something at San Diego like
Yeah.
7 weeks later.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I
and then
forgot about that.
Gamescom. But oh man, I'm just gonna go sit out on the beach, ride a bike, take some naps, not wake up early. And then you know what? I'll be right at Comic-Con with a less gaming focused audience. And then we're now gonna be talking about comics and Marvel and all the things that come along with it. So I'm just gonna turn off the gaming brain, and then I'm gonna go be a comic nerd for a week.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different area of geek culture, which I think is. I mean, I love Comic-Con. I've been there a few times. Are you planning to come to Gamescom this year?
Yes. 100%.
All right. So beers on me when you're there.
Okay, beers on you one night, and then beers on me the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to meet up in person, and I can show you the wonderful world of Cologne.
Yeah.
I have a final question, and then I'll let you go. A legacy question. When people look back at your career, when the book about your life has been written, what do you want them to say you changed, not just what you were part of? What was your fingerprint?
I would want people to say that Eugene gave them the time that they needed to be a good leader, to be a good colleague, and also to be a good friend. But doing all of that while things are constantly shifting, changing, the world around us gets more complicated, but that there's a human aspect in everything that he's done. So professionally, there's a human aspect there. Personally, there's a human aspect there. And if I'm working with Eugene on a project, no matter what level that he's in at that point in time, he's going to work with me. He's going to support me. He's going to listen to me, and we're going to go figure it out and get it done.
I love that. That's a good mic drop moment. We're only 10 minutes over time. I hope that was okay for you.
Yeah, it's fine. I've been working earlier today anyway.
I appreciate you, good sir. I will let you go back into the world and be free, and then work on IGN Live. Can't wait to see more of that in the following weeks. IGNlive.com, I think, or was it again?
Yeah, IGN.com/live.
Live, yeah, exactly. All right, so for people that want to buy tickets, that's where you can buy your tickets and get inspired about all the work that you and your team are doing.
All right.
Is there anything else you'd like to share before we release you into the wild?
No, I would just say don't be afraid to reach out and ask someone any questions and build a relationship from scratch. Don't these titles that you see at the bottom of these screens here. They're titles that we've accumulated over time in the corporate world. But once you take these titles away from us, we're just humans. We're just people, and we want to connect. So whether it is something in your social life or your professional life, the phrase was is it a closed mouth don't get fed? I think that's the one.
Yep.
You know what? Be genuine in your approach, and people will be genuine back with you.
I agree. All right. Boom, some comments.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming to talk to us today.
Thank you for your time, Eugene. Looking forward to seeing you in Germany, but also looking forward to see all the magic that you and your team are working on for IGN. Not just for IGN Live, for all the other things that you guys are doing as well, because I know there's a lot of cool stuff coming.
Okay. And as I said earlier in our chat, like I'll be waiting. You know what I'm waiting for.
Exactly.
All right.
The patience will be rewarded, good sir. The patience will be rewarded.
All righty.
All right. For the people watching, thank you so much for joining another edition of Black Game Pro Sessions. Next week, we will be back with a guy who's also in the chat here, Mark Fraser, who's doing some amazing things in the UK. Eugene, also someone for you to check out. I think he's a cool guy to be connected with. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody, for joining, and see you next week.
All righty.
Peace.
Bye.